Welcome back to the second part of Unlike Any Other Community. I will start from where I left off on the first part. Thank you. It brought disadvantages, including constant surveillance by whites and the psychic tension of wearing a public mask. Today, most people know how it feels working in an office, shadowed by an overbearing, lacking filtered manager. Imagine how a house slave felt during a time when they were treated and considered to be less than cattle. For this reason and others as well, many slaves preferred field work to housework. They detested the close and controlled and careful movements required of the house servants. The Black Code was implemented and respected before the powerful 1960s. Our ancestors held a strict code that I'm sure the fierce lashing of the oppressor's whip couldn't break. Example: food was issued once a week, was generally coarse and lacking in variety. The usual was a peck of corn. A peck of corn was equivalent to 2 dry gallons, and 3 or 4 pounds of bacon or pork salt. Most slaves supplemented their meager fare by trapping coons and possums in the field or by stealing corn from the master's corn cribs and chickens from his chicken coops. Slaves made it a distinction between taking and stealing. Stand-on Code 101. It was considered right and proper to take anything that belonged to the white folk. It was considered wrong to steal the property of another slave. When you and your brother or sister are under the same oppressive system, why compound the injury? Subject to the same oppression and sharing the same interests, slaves of all ranks were bonded together by a common commitment to a common cause. This was clear to both black and white contemporaries. In 1842, for instance, a hostile white witness named Charles C. Jones noted, "The Negro are scrupulous on one point. They make common cause as servants on concealing their faults from their owners. Inquiry elicits no information. No one feels at liberty to disclose the transgressor, or profoundly ignorant, the matter assumes the scaredness of a professional secret. For they remember that they may hereafter require the same concealment of their own transgressions from their fellow servants. And if they tell upon them now, they may have the like favor returned them. Besides, in the meantime, having their names cast out as evil from among their brethren, and subject to scorn and perhaps personal violence or pecuniary injury." There is a corroboration on this point in a Tennessee court case of a slave named Jim, who killed a slave named Isaac for betraying him after his escape. At the trial, the judge noted that Isaac seems to have lost caste. He had combined with the white folks, no slight offense in their eyes that one of their own color, subject to like servitude, should abandon the interests of his caste and betray black folks to white people, render him an object of general aversion. In this case, as well as in the acts and words of both slaves and slave owners, we find most conclusive proof of the dominating influence of the counter community of the slaves. Here's my personal conclusion. We as a people lost or either gave up our sense of community that kept us. We have allowed too many who have ulterior motives that are usually against us to interfere in our affairs. These same people have aggressively done all they could do to decimate our bond and connection as a people. During the darkest anti-mankind times, Our people held on dearly to their kindredship. There's no reason why we can't embrace that same protectiveness and bond that was passed down through generations. It's still there. It might appear that we've grown more distant and less caring for one another, but we haven't. Let's stop only showing up when there's trauma. We seem to only get moved when trauma is involved. Once the trauma is over or dissipates like a drug, we go back to our respective corners until next time. Let's show up for one another, period. Unity and independence of this two-sorted system is key. Thank you and have a blessed, joyous day.